Hello BookTube, this is Weekly Reads. This reading week and next reading week, I want to focus on history. The last few weeks I've focused on manga and fiction. So I started this reading week with Making the Arab World by Fawaz, a Gerges. This is a history of the last 70 years of Egyptian history, primarily the conflict between the Egyptian or Arab nationalists and the Islamist Muslim Brotherhood, from their alliance in the 1952 revolution to their kind of fracturing and the free officers under Nasser moving against the Muslim Brotherhood in 1954 to periods of accommodation and suppression that typified Sadat and Mubarak's presidencies in Egypt up to the current suppression under President al-Sisi. So the book is organized in the first part, looking at the coup or revolution of 1952 that saw the free officers, eventually led by Nasser, overthrow the Egyptian king and purge the elites that supported him. The second part focuses on a dual biography of Gamal Abdel Nasser and Sayyid Qutb. Nasser obviously was president of Egypt and the chief proponent of Arab nationalism, and Qutb was a writer who, as a secularist, was literal remarked, but as an increasingly religious and increasingly radical writer, was much more successful. And then the third part is Sadat and Mubarak's presidencies up to the revolution of 2011 and the subsequent suppression of the Muslim Brotherhood under current President Sisi. I rather enjoyed the book. While reading Making the Arab World, I kind of realized that in reading fiction I have two positive reactions, although one sort of varies in degree, and that is I really love a book. It's where it's like you have that feeling where everything is perfect, everything is just, it's working for you and you're loving every moment with the book. And then there's, for me, I liked it in degrees. I didn't love it. It was okay. But with nonfiction, particularly with history, I have a third positive reaction, and that is my creative inspiration gets fired up, and I'm like just really enjoying the book and loving the book in that way. And that's largely what I experienced with Making the Arab World. I quite liked a lot of it. I'm interested in Egyptian history, and I thought it was well done. A few criticisms I have is that the biographies of Nasser and Qutb are a little too short, I think, to really mine what Gerges is trying to mine from it. And I think the Mubarak chapter doesn't really have much Mubarak. It's more sort of internal Muslim Brotherhood politics. How a faction that's identified as Katabian have dominated the Muslim Brotherhood for the last 30, 40 years against a more reformist, moderate wing, and sort of the internal politics of that conflict. But there's really not much except when the military is supporting it on the Arab nationalist side of things, particularly when their or Egyptian nationalists are more, again, opposition to whoever the president or the military is currently backing, or what degree. But anyway, but I mean, on the whole, I really did enjoy making their world, despite some of my critiques. So on Monday, I started The Road to Dien Bien Phu by Christopher Goscha. This is a history of the Vietnamese War of Independence, or the Indochina War, or the First Vietnam War, or the first part of the larger Vietnam War, however you want to determine it. Because effectively, between 1945 and 1975, Vietnam was almost constantly at war, with either fighting the French for independence or fighting each other to sort of unify the country, or against the Americans and their Vietnamese allies. So this book looks at the first war, the War of Vietnamese Independence from France, which culminated in the Battle of Dien Bien Phu, where the Vietnamese army, led by Giap, defeated the French. The book is organized by subject. The first chapter talks about the archipelago state, how the DRV and the French and then the associated state of Vietnam sort of controlled chunks of territory within what is Vietnam, and how both sides sort of try to take each other's territory, administer their territory, sort of deal with the no man's lands, that sort of thing. The second chapter is about the formation of the DRV's military, and so on and so forth. And ultimately, my opinion on this book is marred by the fact that yesterday I had a meltdown. I mean, it's been building, but yesterday was just a perfect storm of just one thing after another, from grocery issues to filling out some onerous paperwork, to dealing with my relatives, not my mom. I melted down. And when I melt down, when I have really bad days, I can't read. If I try to read, I'm just, and I can't. So I did ultimately bail on The Road to Dien Bien Phu. Now, of course, my meltdown and that required bailing does color my thoughts on the book, or put some caveats, because it's like, how much is influenced by my meltdown. But that said, well, I enjoyed the book as I was reading it. I didn't quite want to go back to it, because ultimately, while I like the writing, and Goscha is a very good writer, he's a very good historian, it's just the book is so fractured. I mean, divided. I mean, like the chapters are different subjects. It's fractured. It doesn't really explore the Vietnamese War of Independence as as a whole. It's bits and pieces, and it just, to take the cliche, it uh, focuses on the trees and forgets the forest. It's so I don't know. So I mean, I will come back to this, to the road to Dien Bien Phu. I don't know when, but I will be coming back to it because I haven't finished business. Although hopefully it doesn't end up like the Opium War does, which I mean was another book I bailed on because of a meltdown, and then my subsequent bail redemption not turning out well at all either. Anyway, so yeah, my meltdown. So today I decided, instead of reading, to paint, and while the second painting I did was a disaster, I quite liked the first one. The first one I think turned out quite well. But anyway, moving on to what I'll be reading this coming reading week. Hopefully I'll have a better reading week, and hopefully I'm in a much better headspace. We shall see. But I'm planning on getting to The Chinese in America by Chang. This is a history of Chinese Americans. And I want to get to The Water Kingdom by Philip Ball. This is, I want to say, a more engineering history of China. Sort of like, if you remember that show from about 10-15 years ago called Engineering an Empire, where the show looks at sort of the engineering feats that accompanied various empires and civilizations. And I think this book is going to look at China through sort of its rivers and through its canals and engineering, that sort of thing. But I'll let you know when once I read it. So anyway, book 2, that was quite disappointing week overall. Hopefully I'll be in a better frame of mind this weekend. We shall see. I mean, today hasn't been particularly pleasant either, largely because, well, I did take care of the onerous paperwork, and the food issue resolved itself, although, yeah. But my method sometimes of trying to make myself feel better is to go book buying, and I've been wanting Toilet Bound Hanako-kun Volume 4 by AidaIro, and I haven't been able to find a reasonably priced copy anywhere. And so I Googled it and found a bookseller that was selling it. So I looked and I'm like, awesome, you've got it. So I ordered it, and Toilet Bound Hanako-kun Volume 7, plus a volume of Fairy Tale. And ordered it, and I'm like happy. I'm like, yes, I'm going to get it. And then I noticed, looking a bit more at this bookseller, that it doesn't have the best reputation. So I'm not entirely sure if I just got scammed. Hopefully I didn't. Hopefully the books will come in. I'll keep you posted. I think what I'm going to do is I'll give it about a week or so, maybe up to the beginning of June. And if I don't hear any updates, like the book's been shipped or anything, I'll email them. And if I don't hear back in a timely manner, or if I find a copy available elsewhere, then I'm like, okay, I probably got scammed. so frustrating. Anyway, BookTube, that's all I got for this week. Next week I'll probably do a cooking video talking about cookbooks because my cookbooks and my hunger for more cookbooks kind of was part of my meltdown. And also there's been a few videos discussing mammoth books that I want to jump on. And of course there are some tag videos I want to do, and maybe another discussion video or something I would like to try. I did not yesterday, I didn't make a video yesterday because I was busy melting down. Wednesday, I talked about Barnes & Noble, and I think it turned out quite well. I might not have said everything I wanted to say as well as I would have liked to have said it, but I think for a first attempt at a discussion video it worked. So I think now that I've done one, I'll try to do some more, so that way I'm not as reliant on tag videos. So anyway, BookTube, hope you have a great evening and rest of your weekend, and I will see you on Monday, hopefully. So until then, BookTube, thank you and stay safe.